The Last Caliph. The life and legacy of Sultan Abdul-Majid II. Sultan Abdul-Majid II, the last shadow of an empire that once spanned continents, lived a life marked by dramatic upheaval and cultural renaissance. As the final caliph of the Ottoman Empire, his reign from 1922 to 1924 saw the dissolution of centuries-old imperial power, the rise of a new secular Turkish republic, and his eventual exile. His story is one of profound transformation, where an imperial prince becomes a stateless artist, capturing the twilight of a bygone era through his enduring legacy in art and culture. Here I request you to please subscribe the channel to watch more interesting videos. Sultan Abdul-Majid II was the last caliph of the Ottoman Empire, holding the title from 1922 until 1924, following the abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate in 1922. Born on May 29, 1868 in Istanbul, he grew up in a life of imperial privilege as the son of Sultan Abdulaziz, who reigned from 1861 to 1876. Abdul-Majid received a traditional Ottoman education, excelling in literature, art, and music, and was particularly known for his refined tastes in painting and calligraphy. After the overthrow of Sultan Mehmed VI in November 1922, the Ottoman Sultanate was abolished by the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. The Caliphate, however, was initially retained as a purely spiritual position, separate from the temporal authority of the Sultan. On November 19, 1922, Abdul-Majid II was elected Caliph by the Assembly, marking his accession to power as the 37th and last Caliph of the Ottoman dynasty. Abdul-Majid II's tenure as Caliph was fraught with challenges. The newly established Turkish Republic under Ataturk was aggressively secularizing and modernizing. The role of the Caliphate was under threat as Ataturk aimed to eliminate any residual Ottoman influence and establish a secular nation-state. Despite the limited nature of his power, Abdul-Majid II was a cultured and enlightened leader. He patronized the arts and was an accomplished painter, with his works often exhibited. He sought to maintain the cultural heritage of the Ottoman dynasty even as its political power waned, and was respected for his dignity and efforts to preserve the spiritual legacy of the Caliphate. The decline of Abdul-Majid II's influence was swift. On March 3, 1924, the Turkish Grand National Assembly formally abolished the Caliphate, ending over 1,300 years of continuous Islamic Caliphate. This move was part of Ataturk's broader strategy to modernize Turkey and cut ties with its Ottoman past. Abdul-Majid II was deposed, and his position was officially dissolved. Following the abolition of the Caliphate, Abdul-Majid II was exiled from Turkey along with his family. They initially settled in Switzerland, living in relative obscurity and facing financial difficulties. The former caliph's life in exile was marked by hardship and a significant reduction in status. He spent his later years in Nice, France, where he continued to paint and engage in cultural pursuits. The hardships faced by Abdul-Majid II and his family in exile were significant and multifaceted. With the abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate and Caliphate, they lost their vast estates, properties, and financial resources. The new Turkish Republic confiscated their wealth, leaving them without their previous sources of income. Initially, the exiled royal family struggled to maintain their accustomed standard of living and had to sell personal belongings and valuable items to make ends meet. The drastic change from being revered to living as ordinary people without any political influence or power was emotionally taxing. Abdul-Majid II and his family experienced isolation in exile. Cut off from their homeland and their social circle, they lived away from the familiar surroundings and the support network they once had in Istanbul. The psychological impact of sudden political downfall and loss of status took a toll on Abdul-Majid II. He faced depression and anxiety, exacerbated by the uncertainty of his and his family's future. The stress of exile affected his physical health, and living in a different climate and environment, coupled with reduced access to the best medical care, may have contributed to his declining health in his later years. Even in exile, Abdul-Majid II was under constant surveillance by various international intelligence agencies, wary of any potential political activities or attempts to restore the caliphate. The political climate of the time, especially with the rise of nationalism and the aftermath of World War I, meant that the exiled Ottoman family faced travel restrictions and scrutiny in their movements across Europe. Living in Western Europe, Abdul-Majid II and his family had to adapt to a vastly different culture, adding to their sense of alienation and loss of identity. Despite the adversities, Abdul-Majid II attempted to preserve Ottoman culture and traditions, although this was challenging in a foreign land with limited resources. The stress of exile often put a strain on family relationships, with disagreements over how to manage their situation and future prospects, sometimes causing friction within the family. Arranging suitable marriages for his children and ensuring their education and well-being in exile was another significant challenge Abdul-Majid II faced. Abdul-Majid II died on August 23, 1944 in Nice, France, at the age of 76. Due to the ongoing World War II, his death did not attract significant international attention. Initially buried in Nice, his remains were later transferred to the Hejaz, present-day Saudi Arabia, in 1954 and reburied in Medina near the Prophet's Mosque, a final resting place befitting his status as the last caliph of the Ottoman Empire. In the decades following his death, there has been a renewed interest in Abdul-Majid II's life and legacy. Scholars and historians have begun to explore his contributions to art and culture, as well as his dignified handling of the adversities he faced in exile. His reburial in Medina in 1954 marked a symbolic recognition of his place in Islamic history, providing a semblance of honor to a life marked by profound upheaval and hardship. Abdul-Majid II's legacy is complex. Here I again remind you to please like, share, comment on the video, and also subscribe the channel. He is remembered as a symbol of the end of an era, representing the final chapter of the Ottoman Empire's long and storied history. His life and tenure as caliph are reflective of the dramatic transformations in the early 20th century, particularly the shift from imperial rule to modern nation-states in the Muslim world. His cultural contributions and his dignified demeanor in the face of profound personal and political upheaval have earned him a place in history as a notable, albeit tragic, figure. Thank you for watching.